What's up, guys? Thanks for joining me on another episode of the Bullspit podcast. We are going to be previewing this weekend's Thunder Days in Springfield, Missouri. We got some good matchups and some good storylines. We are now 6 weeks through the season, so let's see who's going to show up the second half. We have really a middle pack that somebody's got to make some rides, get some momentum going, get some wins going, and see if they can separate themselves. Again, new this season in Vegas, they're going to have a knockout round. The bottom four teams will be competing for those last two spots. Top eight compete for the championship the next 2 days. It's going to be a interesting new wrinkle in things that not everybody can get in, because we do have Nashville Stampede 2 years ago that were in last place getting to the finals and winning it. So that's going to take that away. You got to win that first day to even be able to get into the conversation. So it's time to start separating themselves. We're going to jump into our top 5 team power rankings, top 5 rider power rankings, and of course we'll jump into every matchup, giving you a game pick. Again, this is not betting advice, but 31-24-1 in game picks this season. Not too bad, coming off a couple of good weeks in a row. Let's see if we can continue that momentum. Let's jump into it. We start with our storylines. Kansas City Outlaws, winners of 5 straight. They've had 2 back-to-back really good weekends. Everybody's getting rides for them. Even the new guys. Macon Roca made a statement last weekend in his debut in Austin. They got the pieces. They are on fire. They are slowly catching up to the Carolina Cowboys, but our second storyline is going to be the Carolina Cowboys. They get their first loss last weekend, but they bounce back on Sunday, riding all 5, going for 429.5 points. Big time response from those guys. You can show that the vets have their heads on straight. They're making sure that everybody focused on the Sunday, put Saturday behind them. Their first loss of the season, got that monkey off their back, and I look forward to them, continuing their hot start in the second half. But to end things, those 3 through 9 teams 3 through 9 in the standings are separated by 2.5 games. We've had some teams that, of course, in Kansas City and Carolina that have started to really kind of separate themselves from those other teams. So 3 through 9, 2.5 game separation, and we have 6 weeks to go before we get to Vegas. There's still a lot to play for. People are just now starting to get in their groove. These riders are getting in their groove for the season. The Bulls are getting in their groove for the season. And people are learning how to work on teams for the first time. Have teammates. This is an individual sport. But we'll see how that happens. Big time weekend here to start the second half. Let's get to our top 5 team power rankings. Starting out at number 5 in our team power rankings, I'm going to go with the hometown team this weekend, the Missouri Thunder. They sit at 6-8 on the season. They're going to go up against a big-time slate. Outlaws on Friday, the Mavericks on Saturday, who everybody knows is not just a gimme these days, and the Carolina Cowboys, the best team. So it's going to be a tough weekend for them. Let's see if they can hold their head above water. They've gotten some big rides. Paulo Edreda Rosetto has been closing things out for them. Briggs Madsen has added in some. Boudreaux Campbell. Andrew Avidres has been the guy, though, these past couple of weeks. I think he's on a 4-ride streak. So we'll see if they can maybe get an upset over some of these teams, the Outlaws and the Cowboys, and make sure they put in some rides against the Mavericks, because, again, they are riding more now. Missouri Thunder at 5. At number 4 in our team power rankings, we're going with the Florida Freedom. We haven't had them in our top power rankings here in a couple of weeks. They have turned it around. They go 2-0 last weekend in Austin and get 2 big wins. This weekend, they're going to have a tough task ahead of them in the Texas Rattlers, who have been on a hot streak, Kansas City Outlaws, who have been on a hot streak, the Austin Gamblers. Since they last met, those 2 teams have kind of went opposite ways. Gamblers are 2-4 in their last 6 games. They need to pick it up and pick it up fast. Florida Freedom at 6-7, sitting at number 4 in the power rankings. At number 3 in our team power rankings, we're going with the Texas Rattlers. 2 weeks ago, they sit in last place in the standings. It looks like Old Hope is lost, but with their back up against the wall, Cody Lambert gets his team going. Brady Fielder has stepped up big time for them. They're back to their older ways. They're a scary team to have to go up against. They got the Freedom on Friday, the Ridge Riders on Saturday before a bye on Sunday. 2 winnable games. Let's see if they can continue that hot streak. And at number 2 in our team power rankings, the Kansas City Outlaws. I couldn't put them at number 1 quite yet. Yes, they beat the Cowboys last weekend to give them their first loss of the season, and they are on fire. Casio Diaz, Colton Hevelo, Julio Cesar Marquez, Sandro Batista, everybody has been getting rides, and then you add in this young showstopper and Macon Roca. They have had some big things to say about that kid, and he showed up last week going 2 for 2. They have the Thunder, the Freedom, and the Stampede this weekend. They're starting to have that bullseye on their back. Teams are going to make sure that they are giving their best against them. I look forward to them to continue to climb these standings. At number 1, we're sticking with the Carolina Cowboys, 11-1-1 on the season. They lose last weekend to the Kansas City Outlaws, but they returned Sunday in a big way. There was one question. It was, how are they going to respond from that loss? And they showed you it's no sweat off their back. The veterans show up. Dalen Swearengin gets a ride. Cooper Davis gets a ride. Adriano Salgado goes 92 on Sunday. And then you throw in Dawson Branton also with Derek Calboba. So all 5 ride. They respond big time. I look forward to them, really using that as a reset and continuing their winning ways. Let's get to the riders. Our top 5 rider power rankings going into the Gambo Days this weekend. At number 5, Eduardo Matos for the Oklahoma Wildcatters. He has been a pillar for them this year. He has 2 big rides again this past weekend in Austin, getting 92.5 on Friday night. He's their starter. He really is a fire starter for them. We got to have some of the other guys help him out a little bit more consistently, but he has been probably their saving grace this year. Eduardo Matos at number 5. At number 4 in our rider power rankings, we are going to go with Sage Kimzey. He has been closer for the Carolina Cowboys. Didn't have that great of a weekend last week. Got a reride opportunity and let the youngster Dawson Branton get in on the action. But he's held true all year. He is a big reason they've been so successful. He is a vet through and through, and he knows how to bounce back from adversity. He's at number 4 in our power rankings. At number 3, we're going to go with his teammate, just slightly because of his recent success last weekend, Cooper Davis. He has been the starter for the Carolina Cowboys. What a way to bookend a team with Cooper Davis starting things out, Sage Kimzey closing things out for you. There's a reason they're so good. Cooper Davis gets some big rides last weekend on Sunday to get his way back up. He had a couple buck-offs there in a row that I'm sure he wasn't happy with, but he's up to number 3 in our power rankings. At number 2, it was a close, but I had to put Casio Diaz here. He has shot his way up in the top 5 of the MVP standings after a couple of off weeks. He shows up big time last weekend, getting some 90-point rides. He's a world champion for a reason. That guy's a fighter, and it sounds like he's about as hard as worker as there is. He's up to number 2 in our power rankings. And at number 1, we are going to stay with Jose Vitor Leme, the back-to-back Team Series MVP. He has had a couple of buck-offs lately. Friday and Saturday he gets bucked off. He gets bucked off Sunday in the shootout round. But he did get a big ride for them on Sunday. See if he can get that momentum. He's a killer. So, he is not happy with these buck-offs that have been going recently and not helping his team. He counts on himself, puts a lot of pressure on himself. But he's a multiple-time PBR world champion. He will know how to handle this, and I expect him to continue to get some big rides. We get to dive into the game picks. Friday, we get started with the Oklahoma Wildcatters versus the Nashville Stampede. Oklahoma, after a hot start, has found themselves towards the bottom of the rankings. But again, that middle pack is all right there within striking distance. Nashville Stampede had a disappointing weekend last weekend, 0-2. We'll see if Caden Loud is back and ready to go. He's been out with injury, so hopefully he's at full health for them. I'm going to give the edge to the Oklahoma Wildcatters. I feel like they are due. Let's see if, Josh Frost, Austin Richardson can help out. See Case Hitt getting his chance on Friday night. And then you got to have Clay Guyton. Eduardo Matos will stay true. Wildcatters in a close one. Second game on Friday, we're going with the Austin Gamblers versus Arizona Ridge Riders. Two teams that have been on the decline over these past couple of weeks. Again, going back to the Ridge Riders are sitting at last in the standings, not something we expected. Their back's up against the wall. They are due for something. I'm going to give the edge to the Ridge Riders in a close one. I can't trust the Gamblers quite yet. Next up on Friday night, we have the Texas Rattlers versus the Florida Freedom. This is actually going to be my number one matchup of the weekend. Number 3 and number 4 in our power rankings, two teams that are pretty hot. This could be some big scores. Let's see how the Young Guns in Florida respond from their good weekend. Are they complacent? Are they ready to fire for more? The Texas Rattlers have been looking really good. I'm going to give the edge to the Rattlers on Friday night. Closing things out on Friday night, hometown Missouri Thunder will take on the Kansas City Outlaws, two Missouri teams. Sure to be a lot of fans in attendance and hopefully a hostile one. The Outlaws have been on absolute fire lately. The Thunder are a very gritty team. They're putting their best foot forward and they try their best. They don't give up and they got the fight in them. I think the Outlaws are too hot right now. I'm going to give the edge to Kansas City. We start out Saturday with the Texas Rattlers versus the Arizona Ridge Riders. The Rattlers are too hot of a team right now. Yes, the Ridge Riders hopefully are going to have a response. It's fight or flight now, and it's their turn to fight. So let's see if they do that, start to climb their way up through the standings. The Rattlers are too hot right now, though. I'm going the edge to the Rattlers. Up next, we have the Florida Freedom versus the Kansas City Outlaws. This is going to be my number 2 matchup of the weekend. Again, two teams that are both very hot right now. Freedom going 2-0 last weekend, and the Outlaws have won 5 straight. The Outlaws have the champions. I feel like they have a little bit more veteran presence. I'm going to give the edge to Kansas City on Saturday. Third matchup on Saturday is the Oklahoma Wildcatters versus the Carolina Cowboys. The first time these two took on each other earlier this year, it was a doozy. Oklahoma, I had picked to upset Carolina. They end up tying. So, it's a tie, it's a wash. Now we finally get to see who's going to come out on top. I'm going to give the edge to Carolina with just a little bit more consistency from them so far, and especially since their last matchup. Closing out the night on Saturday, the New York Mavericks will take on the Missouri Thunder. New York has really changed their season around completely. Riding percentage is still not quite the way they would want it to be, but they've been climbing from a deep hole. They've been more consistent lately. The Thunder, though, in front of their home crowd, I'm going to give them the edge. Let's see if Paulo Eduardo Rossetto can close things out for them. And on Sunday, we get started with the Florida Freedom versus the Austin Gamblers. Two teams that are on different trajectories since the last time they met. Austin did get a win versus them in Nashville a couple of weekends ago. I don't think the Gamblers can lose too many more before people start saying the sky is falling type of thing. They got to have a good weekend this week and a bounce back effort. I'm going to give the edge to the Gamblers because they need it. Stampede versus Outlaws at our second matchup on Sunday. Nashville Stampede are really a weird team to try to find out. They find themselves getting wins a lot. Their ride percentage is not necessarily there, not necessarily as good as some of the teams below them in the standings. I'm giving the edge to the Kansas City Outlaws. They are just too good right now. Game number 3 on Sunday will be the New York Mavericks versus the Arizona Ridge Riders. I hate to pick against Arizona too many times. I know that it's bound to start rolling in the right direction. Let's see if they can have some success this weekend, but I'm going to give the edge to New York Mavericks. They have been a good team. Hudson Bolton has been inserted and been a difference maker. Mauricio Marrera has been a solid closer for them. He is a young superstar. I'm going to give the edge to the Mavericks on Sunday. To close out the Thunder days on Sunday, hometown Thunder are against the best team in the league and the Carolina Cowboys. It would be awesome to be able to close out the Thunder days with a win in front of their home crowd against the best team. What a storybook ending. They have the guys to do it. They can make the big rides. I'm still going to give the edge to the Carolina Cowboys. They've been more consistent. Again, they've wiped that slate clean. They have their loss. Who cares? Now let's move forward and look forward to Vegas. Carolina gets it done. Well, guys, we're going to have another exciting weekend in the PBR Team Series. This is week number 7. We are in Springfield, Missouri. Make sure to check in on Merritt Street Media, 8 p.m. on Friday and Saturday. And then I believe it's 5 p.m. or 6 p.m. on Sunday. Make sure you download that, any smartphone, any smart TV. Please follow at Bullspit Pod on TikTok and Bullspit Podcast on YouTube. We are going to have some rider interviews coming at you next week. I am really looking forward to sending those out and letting y'all see those. And continue to grow the PBR Team Series fan base. I look forward to growing with y'all. I will see y'all next time.